The sun sets over Maplewood Estates, a gated community where pristine lawns and cookie-cutter houses line the streets like something out of a glossy real estate brochure. It's the kind of neighborhood where every blade of grass is inspected, every mailbox is identical, and where an unspoken rule lingers in the air: people like me don't belong. I moved here a year ago, young, black, successful, and completely unbothered by the whispers behind my back. My name is Marcus Bennett, and I'm a civil engineer with my own firm. I paid for this house in cash. No mortgage, no debt. And yet, to my neighbors, specifically the Homeowners Association, it doesn't matter that I worked my way up from nothing. What matters is that I don't fit. I keep my property immaculate, not because I care about their rules, but because I refuse to give them an excuse. They'll have to dig deeper if they want to push me out. And lately, they've been digging. The first sign of trouble came in the form of a fine. $500 for unauthorized alterations. The alteration in question? My backyard pool. It was there when I bought the house. The previous owners had a permit. But somehow the HOA suddenly decided it was a problem. I pushed back, of course. Sent them the original paperwork. Demanded an explanation. Their response? Silence. Then, last week, I noticed something strange. Footprints by my pool. Wet ones. As if someone had been swimming. At first, I thought maybe it was the neighbor's kids. But then I checked my security cameras. That's when I saw them. A group of people, at least a dozen, laughing, drinking, partying in my backyard. They weren't kids. They were adults. HOA members. And leading the pack? Karen Whitmore, HOA President. 50-something. Platinum blonde bob. The undisputed queen of Maplewood Estates. She's the type of woman who weaponizes politeness. Smiles in your face while plotting your downfall. The footage showed her unlocking my gate with a key. I never gave anyone a key. How the hell did she get one? I checked my locks. No forced entry. Someone must have made a copy. But why? And more importantly, what were they planning next? I sit in my home office, staring at the security footage on my screen. It plays in a loop. Karen Whitmore, dressed in an expensive sundress, holding a cocktail in one hand and gesturing toward my pool like she owns it. Behind her, a dozen HOA members lounge on MY patio furniture, sipping drinks and laughing, completely at ease in my backyard. I lean forward, pausing the footage. That key. My stomach twists. This isn't some misunderstanding. This isn't a neighbor accidentally hopping the wrong fence. This is deliberate, planned, entitled. But I need more than suspicion. I need proof. The next morning, I decide to test a theory. I leave for work. But instead of heading to my office, I park around the corner and double back on foot, keeping out of sight. And that's when I see it. The gate swings open, and in walks Karen, like she owns the place. She's got two women with her, Linda and Cheryl, both HOA board members. They're carrying coolers, towels, and a Bluetooth speaker. My blood boils. I step out of the shadows. Enjoying yourselves? Karen jerks back like she's been caught shoplifting. But it lasts only a second before her face resets into that practiced, condescending smile. The same one I've seen when she talks to the landscapers. The smile of someone who believes they are untouchable. "Oh, Marcus," she says, placing a manicured hand over her chest. "You startled me. We were just breaking into my backyard?" I cut in, voice steady. I want to see her squirm. Karen laughs like I just told a cute joke. "Oh, don't be dramatic. The HOA has always had access to community pools." I blink. Community pool? This isn't a community pool, I say, stepping closer. It's my private property. Karen's smile tightens. Well, that's debatable. She folds her arms, glancing at the two women behind her, as if looking for backup. "You see, Marcus, there was a clerical issue when you moved in. The previous owners actually designated this as a shared amenity before selling the house. So technically," I let out a slow breath. She's lying. Boldly, confidently. She knows I'll push back. But she also knows the HOA has power. "You'll need to provide proof of that," I say, voice sharp. Karen waves a hand dismissively. Oh, we'll sort it out at the next HOA meeting. In the meantime, I trust you won't cause a fuss. A threat. A thinly veiled warning that if I fight this, they'll make my life hell. I watch as she turns back to the gate, completely unbothered. The audacity, the entitlement. I clench my fists. This isn't over. The next morning, I march straight to the HOA office, a converted clubhouse at the edge of the neighborhood. I'm not the type to let things slide, especially not blatant trespassing and theft. Inside, Karen sits behind a polished mahogany desk, sipping from a coffee mug that says, "Because I'm the boss." She doesn't look surprised to see me. If anything, she looks amused. "Marcus," she says, setting down her mug, "I assume you're here to discuss the pool?" I don't bother sitting. "Yeah, we're going to fix this today. You and I both know that pool is private property. I checked the records. There's nothing about it being community property." I drop a folder on her desk. "And just so there's no confusion, here's a copy of my deed and the original permit." Karen glances at it but doesn't open it. Her expression doesn't change. She leans back, tilting her head. "I understand you're upset, but this isn't as simple as paperwork." "Actually, it is." I snap. "You're trespassing. If it happens again, I'll call the cops." Karen laughs softly. "Oh, Marcus." She says my name like it's a child's, like I'm being unreasonable. "You know how these things work. HOA rules supersede individual ownership in shared spaces." She leans forward, voice dropping into that patronizing tone I've heard a dozen times. "Now, I know you might not be familiar with how we do things in this community, but we all pitch in for the greater good. And frankly, I think it's wonderful that you're willing to share." Familiar. Share. The coded language is crystal clear. "You don't belong here. You should be grateful we even let you live here." I grit my teeth. "Last warning. Stay off my property." Karen smirks. "Or what? You'll cause a scene? Get aggressive." Her eyebrows lift, and suddenly, I see the game she's playing. She wants me to snap. She wants me to be the angry black man in the HOA minutes. I take a slow breath. Not today. Instead, I pull my phone from my pocket and hit play. Her voice fills the room, the recording from yesterday. The HOA has always had access to community pools. Karen's smile vanishes. Keep going. The previous owners actually designated this as a shared amenity. Her fingers twitch. I see it, the first crack in her perfect mask. I let the audio finish, then slide my phone into my pocket. Silence stretches between us. Then she scoffs. "That's cute," she says. "But it won't help you." She picks up my folder, rips it in half, and tosses it in the trash. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a pool party to plan." Clench my jaw. She thinks she's untouchable. Fine. She wants to play games? I play toe. That night, I set up hidden cameras, better angles, better audio. If Karen wants to keep trespassing, I'll have ironclad proof. And sure enough, the very next evening, I catch them again. But this time, it's bigger. Not just a few HOA members, it's a full-blown party. String lights, a DJ, coolers full of expensive liquor. They even hired a caterer. In MY backyard. I grip my phone, rage simmering beneath my skin. And then I see it. Karen standing near the pool, giving a speech. I turn up the volume on the feed, and her voice comes through crystal clear. And that's why keeping our neighborhood exclusive is so important. We can't just let things change overnight. She sips her champagne, grinning. We have to remind people that just because they can afford a house here doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. This community has standards. A cheer goes up. I feel sick. This isn't just about my pool. It's about control, about power, about making sure I know that, no matter how much I own, I will never belong. I tighten my grip on my phone. Karen thinks she's untouchable. She's about to find out how wrong she is. I don't call the cops. Not yet. Cops showing up to a party like this? A wealthy, white-dominated HOA gathering. It would be flipped against me in an instant. Aggressive homeowner threatens peaceful gathering. I can already hear Karen spinning the narrative. No, I need something bigger. So I call my lawyer. and the county zoning office. Turns out, throwing unauthorized events on private property, using a residential space for commercial gain, selling alcohol without a permit, all serious offenses, the kind that come with heavy fines and legal consequences. And tonight, Karen's committed all three. By the time I step outside, the party is in full swing. The pool glows with underwater lights, expensive cocktails clink, and music thumps through high-end speakers. The air reeks of chlorine and entitlement. Then they see me, Karen, perched on my patio like a queen on a throne. Smirks. "Marcus!" she calls, her voice dripping with mocking sweetness. "I was wondering when you'd join us." The crowd turns to look at me, all privileged smiles and thinly veiled disdain. I don't react. I just walk forward, calm, controlled. Karen stands, lifting her glass. "You know, we've been talking and we all agree. You've been so generous, letting us use the pool." She grins. "So the HOA has voted, and we're making it official. This is now a community space. Isn't that wonderful?" The crowd claps. They actually clap. My hands curl into fists, but I force my voice to stay steady. This isn't up for a vote. It's my property. Karen tilts her head. "Oh, but you see, Marcus, the HOA has rights to all shared amenities." She places a hand on my shoulder like I'm a child she's explaining something to. "And honestly, I think it's a good thing. You work so much, you don't even use the pool. Wouldn't it be better if the community got some use out of it?" Murmurs of agreement. A few people laugh. Karen leans in, lowering her voice. "You can fight it, but the board has final say. And let's be real." Her smile sharpens. "This isn't exactly your kind of neighborhood, is it?" There it is. The truth behind her mask. The whole party watches, expecting me to back down, to accept that I'm outnumbered, outvoted, outpowered. I inhale slowly. Then I pull out my phone, connect it to the speakers, and press play. Karen's voice booms over the party. Crisp, undeniable. "Keeping our neighborhood exclusive is so important. We can't just let things change overnight." The crowd goes silent. I let the recording play all the way through. Just because they can afford a house here doesn't mean they can do whatever they want. By the time it ends, the mood has shifted. Karen goes pale. That's taken out of context." I step forward, voice cold. "Here's what's actually happening. You've been hosting unauthorized events on private property, selling alcohol without a permit. And guess what?" I gesture toward the caterers. "I already spoke to the county. This entire party? Illegal." A few guests shift uncomfortably. Some start stepping away. Karen forces a laugh. "Oh, come on, Marcus. No one's calling the county over a little neighborhood gathering." I smile. "You're right. I didn't call the county. I called the IRS." Karen blanches. I turn toward the caterers, who now look worried. "Did she tell you she had a permit to serve alcohol? Because without one, this is a major violation. And if taxes haven't been filed for these little HO events?" I shrug. "That's tax fraud." The caterers start packing up immediately. The DJ cuts the music. The guests, suddenly nervous, begin slipping away. Karen's mask cracks. "You're bluffing." I step closer. "Try me." Right then, blue and red lights flash. Not the cops, county enforcement. Fines, violations, legal action. The full weight of the law is about to crash down on Karen like a tidal wave. Her mouth opens and closes, but for the first time, she's speechless. Checkmate. Karen stands frozen, her perfectly curated world unraveling in real time. The flashing red and blue lights bounce off the pool water, casting eerie shadows over the stunned partygoers. Then, as if snapping back to reality, she straightens her blazer, lifts her chin, and smirks. "This is ridiculous," she scoffs. "You seriously called county enforcement over a harmless gathering?" She turns to the officers like they're old friends. "Gentlemen, I'm sure there's been a misunderstanding." The lead officer, a tall, no-nonsense woman with Hendrix on her badge, doesn't blink. "Karen Mitchell, correct?" Karen's smirk falters. "Yes, but I don't see how." Officer Hendricks flips through a folder. We received multiple complaints about unauthorized events, illegal alcohol sales, and tax violations under your HOA's management. Her eyes lock onto Karen's. And your name is on every permit request. Karen laughs too loudly. Oh, please. Marcus is just being petty because he doesn't like sharing. This is a community event, and the HOA has every right to use the pool. I cross my arms. Karen, show them the permit. She whirls on me. Excuse me? The permit, I say smoothly. The one that allows the HOA to sell alcohol, hold large gatherings, and claim my property as common space. I raise an eyebrow. You have it, right? Karen gapes. Officer Hendricks nods. That's a good point. If this was authorized, where's the paperwork? Karen's eyes dart wildly between the officers, the crowd, and me. I don't have it on me. I pull out my phone. Good thing I checked with the zoning office. I turn the screen toward Hendricks. No permit. No authorization. Nothing. Karen loses it. Oh, for God's sake, Marcus. You're acting like some kind of victim. She waves a dismissive hand. We let you live here, we welcomed you, and this is how you repay us? Running to the authorities like a little. She catches herself, but it's too late. The silence is deafening. The crowd shifts uneasily. Some guests start quietly slipping away. Others murmur to each other, the realization settling in. Karen wasn't trying to include me. She was trying to control me. And now, they all see it. Officer Hendricks sighs. Ms. Mitchell, will be issuing citations for illegal alcohol distribution, zoning violations, and unauthorized use of private property. Karen snaps around. That's absurd. The HOA owns this space. No, Hendricks says flatly. He does. She nods at me. Karen trembles with rage. This is a mistake. I'll call my lawyer. I smirk. I already did. That's when my lawyer, Rebecca Tran, steps out from the shadows, a folder thick with documents in her hands. Good evening, Ms. Mitchell, Rebecca says smoothly. I was just explaining to county enforcement how the HOA has been illegally using private property, enforcing rules outside of its jurisdiction, and failing to properly report finances. She glances at Hendricks. If you'd like, I can send the IRS everything we found. Karen's face drains of color. IRS? She whispers. Rebecca nods. Your HOA fees? They don't match the maintenance records. And these fundraisers? She taps the folder. Unreported income. The HOA board members in the crowd start muttering. One of them, a wiry man with nervous eyes, bolts for the exit. Karen whirls on them. Don't listen to this. They don't know what they're talking about. But it's too late. The crowd has turned. This doesn't sound good, Karen, someone mutters. Another board member, Janice, one of Karen's closest allies, takes a cautious step back. You told us everything was above board. Karen spins, desperate now. It is. These people are just... She stops herself, fists clenching. I step closer, lowering my voice. You thought you could push me out, humiliate me, take what's mine. I tilt my head. Tell me, Karen, how does it feel to lose? She shakes with rage. I am not losing. But then, the final blow. One of the caterers steps forward. Actually, I have footage. The entire party freezes. I record all my events for liability, the caterer explains, pulling out his phone. And I have Karen on camera telling us to overcharge HOA members and keep the extra as a donation. Gasps ripple through the crowd. Even Janice stiffens. Karen? Is that true? Karen doesn't answer. She can't. Officer Hendricks turns to Rebecca. I think we have enough to escalate this. Rebecca nods. Absolutely. Karen looks at me, pure hatred in her eyes. You did this, she hisses. No, Karen. I step back, watching as her entire world crumbles. You did. And for the first time in her life, she has no power left. Karen tries to run. Not physically, there's nowhere for her to go. But she grabs her phone, frantically dialing someone. Her lawyer? A friend? The HOA board members who have now backed so far away they might as well have vanished? It doesn't matter. Officer Hendricks steps forward. Ms. Mitchell, based on the evidence presented, you are under investigation for tax fraud, unauthorized commercial activity, and zoning violations. Karen's face twists in horror. This is a mistake. I didn't do anything wrong. But no one believes her. Not anymore. The caterer's footage spreads fast. Within minutes, neighbors are watching it on their phones, whispering. HOA members murmur about the illegal fees, the overcharging, the missing funds. Then, a voice from the crowd. She raised our fees for this? A woman's face is red with anger. I barely make ends meet, and she's pocketing the money? More voices rise. She said she was using the money for neighborhood improvements. She charged me extra for pool access. And it wasn't even legal? What else has she been lying about? The mob mentality shifts. Karen was once their queen. Now she's the villain. She turns to me, her eyes burning. You set me up, she snarls. I laugh. You set yourself up. Hendricks gestures and an officer steps forward. Ms. Mitchell, we need you to come with us for questioning. Karen stumbles back. No, you can't. But the officer already has her wrist in his grip. And in front of the entire neighborhood, the people she ruled, the people she manipulated, Karen Mitchell is escorted off my property. Her guests scatter. No one comes to her defense. Not one person. By morning, the news has spread. The HOA is in shambles. Karen is removed from her position. Investigations into the HOA's finances uncover years of fraud. A lawsuit is filed on behalf of the residents who were scammed. The IRS gets involved. Karen, she loses everything. Her pristine reputation? Destroyed. Her influence over the neighborhood? Gone. Her home? Put up for sale to cover her legal fees. She vanishes from the community she once ruled. And me? I win. I reclaim my pool, my backyard, my peace. The first time I step outside after everything settles, my neighbors watch me. Some avoid my gaze, still ashamed for ever siding with her. Others approach, awkward, guilty. I didn't know how bad it was. One man admits. I should have spoken up, another says. I don't respond. I don't need to. They're learning. And that's enough. A week later, I host a real pool party. No fraud. No hidden fees. Just an open invitation to those who never had a voice under Karen's rule. As I watch the laughter, the splashing, the genuine community forming, I know I've won.